Well, and now you are playing a bunch because now you're playing an Icarus Bell, and
Yeah,
you guys are putting out a bunch of singles, and you got an album on the way.
we do. We have an album on the way. We were hoping to get it done by the end of the year, and it looks like we might get close. So here's the deal. Like Matt and I have no issue with creating music beds, creating songs without words and vocals and
Okay,
melodies. We can knock those out left and right all day long. The slow part comes in when trying to add vocals and lyrics and melody ideas that fit the music we created because we're
sure.
doing it a little bit backwards. We're creating drums and bass and then adding guitar that we feel may fit, and then we have to come back and try to make vocals work.
Yeah, right, right.
So that's the
Sometimes,
last part of your process is the
yeah,
words and the vocals.
yeah, that is the last part of the process,
Makes sense.
and that's what makes it very difficult to because the musicianship that's going on. We try to lay back and not overplay, I guess, so that we can lay a good music bed for some good vocal melodies. But sometimes we just get carried away with wanting to jam with each other.
Welcome, fellow lushes. Come on in, pull up a bar stool, and enjoy some cocktails with Dimples and the Beard.
Oh, there we
Look
go.
at that. Boom on the fucking dot.
Right on time.
7 o'clock. Boom.
7
He
bells.
pops up. That's amazing.
All right. Well,
Excited.
I'm excited too. Without
Never,
further ado,
leave a pretty guy waiting.
handsome fella. Never leave a handsome fella waiting. This is Alan Adams, better known by most in the Blue October world as Alski. And we were lucky
I
enough.
like that name.
Yeah.
Let's see what comes up with that.
Lucky enough to get him. So let's do it.
Absolutely, we are. Be cool.
You be cool.
I try.
Hello?
Just doesn't work.
Hello.
Hey there, Alan. How are you?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Doing great.
You guys have really taken off, man.
With the help of some of you guys, I mean,
Yeah.
we're just stealing all the musicians who have come through Orb Studios. And so tonight we're joined by Alan Adams. And I was saying before we brought you on, better known by most of the Blue October family as Alski. And that's how I first became aware of you. I met you a handful of times on Blue October shows back when you were doing the tour manager stuff. And now obviously with Icarus Bell, we love the music, and we had Matt on, and just had to bring you on to talk more Icarus Bell. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How did the old Alski come about?
The name or
Yeah, the nickname. Yeah. I mean,
mine was just out. Might have still even been in high school. This was a long time ago. The way I would say everything, I would put ski at the end of it. Let's go to the store ski. Let's get some beer ski.
Yeah.
And at the time, my friends called me Al, or Big Al. It's like calling a big dude tiny.
Yeah.
I was a little dude. They called me Big Al, but yeah, they just started calling me Alski, and it just stuck. And
Stuck around.
It's been that way forever, and yeah, it's like once you get to back then, it was really just more over beers and at the party and being whatever. Once you get to know, it's like, oh, that's Alski.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely a different time back then.
I bet.
Yeah.
So do you avoid the Alski now? Is that not what people call you anymore?
No, not at all. I think I still think it's fun. I think it's something that will just live on forever because that's how people know me. And
Sure.
Oh, it will live on forever. Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah. So it was funny because I was at a Blue October show when I was working with them, and I was standing there talking to some people outside the front door. You know how I would used to hand out the wristband.
Yeah.
Talk to people, and I was sitting there visiting with them, and all of a sudden, all their faces just kind of paused and just kind of lit up, and they were looking behind me, and I was like, "What in the world are y'all looking?" I turned around, and it was a boxcar from a train, and along the side, just huge, it said Alski. So I was like, what in the world? So we ran over there and took some pictures with it, but I found out there's a graffiti artist named
Okay.
Alski. And yeah, we met over Instagram. You had a laugh that we shared the same name, but I didn't really know there were other Alskis out there.
That's funny. Wow. Small world to have that happen at the exact time you're out there doing that.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's really fun though.
So musically, when did you start with music? Have you always been musical?
And a drummer.
Yeah, I started so when I was a little kid, we had a friend of the family that moved in with us to go to college in Lubbock, Texas. He went to Texas Tech. Um, and he was a drummer and a guitarist, and I was in sixth grade. And he taught me some basic rudiments. I wanted to be a drummer.
Okay.
And at the time, and when you go into seventh grade music program at school, the drummers are separated from the rest of the band for the whole year, so you can learn how to play drums. And in eighth grade, you join the whole band, but you have to audition for
Right.
to see if you have the skills to be a drummer. And basically, I played a paradiddle, which is a basic rudiment for drummers, and they said, "Okay, you're in." And that's when it all started. And then I had kind of quit playing um, out of high, like I was in the drum line and all that. I played snare in the drum line, and then I kind of quit during college. But I was working at the Sunglass Hut in the mall, a little kiosk in the aisle.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I was listening to this nonstop, listening to Smashing Pumpkins, just nonstop for years. But anyway, this particular day, and Jimmy's one of my heroes, the drummer, and I always loved his style. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to be a drummer. And I quit college. I quit my job.
Oh wow.
And I started to that was the beginning of my journey in the music business.
Okay.
I was in Lubbock, and I played for many years in Lubbock. And I played in a band we had original music and a CD at the time. That was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And but in that city in particular, you were kind of required, if you wanted to play a lot, to do covers. So you could, because it was a college town.
Yeah.
And so we did that. We would do 3 sets a night, 4 nights a week. We played for 3 to 4 hours
Oh wow.
a night, and I really built up my chops. But we would do our first set was our original music while everybody was still kind of sober. And then the next 2 were the fun, like cover tunes that people could sing along and dance to and all that stuff. And that's how I met Blue October.
Oh okay.
Oh, that early. Okay.
Yeah, so they'd come to Lubbock, and we'd open for them. We'd be local support, so we would draw the local crowd, and they have some people to play in front of.
What was the name of this band?
This band was called Falling Jupiter.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, was that your first band?
This was my third band. My first band was with some military dudes in the Air Force, and before we could play our first gig, all our gear got stolen.
Oh, shit.
And so that ended that band very quickly. And another band, after that, I got into a band called Flywater Washington, and we played for a long time. And we ended up moving to Austin as a band, living in a house, and the whole thing that bands do. And the lead singer, well, long story short, he just kind of like quit and left with all our money.
Oh.
And so I was like, well, okay. But at the time, the guys in Falling Jupiter had just finished their album, and they needed a band. And so me and the guitar player from the Flywater Washington called them up and played with them. So we did. Okay. So Falling Jupiter did a bunch of shows with Blue October, Bowling for Soup.
Oh,
like whoever would come through town, and we all became really good friends. And that's how I became friends with Blue October. And that's when Matt approached me about starting A+ Machines.
Yeah.
So I quit Falling Jupiter and then moved down to San Marcos to tour with Blue October as their guitar tech.
Okay.
And Matt and I were doing A+ Machines on the side, and we decided to go full time with it. And we did that for a couple of years, and then Matt went back to Blue October, and I went back to Blue October as the merch guy, and I did that for a little while, and then I became the tour manager, and then the rest is
Wow.
It's quite the progression, yeah, to go from how does that work? I mean, tour manager, I think, would be a big on-taking.
It was. I'll never forget the phone call, because at the time, the current tour manager, he really wanted to do the production side. He wanted to be the sound guy. And during his time as tour manager, he tasked me with a lot of the duties that he should have been doing,
Sure.
basically. And that's how I learned, and it ended up getting me the job.
Learned on the job. That's okay.
And I was going to actually be his assistant. And I remember I was in HEB, and Justin called me and said, "Hey, we're going to move him over to production. We want you to be the tour manager." And I was like,
wow.
This is great. But inside I was terrified.
Oh, I bet.
And, but the guys were real patient, and their manager, Paul, took me in under his wing and taught me a lot of stuff, and was a huge support for me and a lifeline out on the road when I needed him. And, till I got, my feet on the ground and a good understanding of how to do everything, which eventually I did. I felt like I had a good operation going there.
Yeah.
But
you're definitely beloved.
The beginning was obviously a little bumpy, but the guys understood, and they were very patient and helpful. So yeah.
And I know, like I said, I know you were beloved. Fans loved you, and I remember people being bummed when you left the job. People being bummed that you weren't on tour anymore, because everybody looked forward to seeing you as part of the tour too.
That was like that was a really difficult decision for me. It was one of the hardest decisions I've ever made, and there were a lot of. I talked to the guys. I was gonna call a meeting, and I told Justin, I was like, "Hey," because we had a day off. We were at the beach somewhere on the East Coast, and I pulled Justin aside. I was like, "Hey, I'd like to get the band together to have a quick meeting today." He goes, "You're quitting, aren't you?" And I just started bawling. And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, come outside here. Come talk to me." We're on the bus, and I was like newly sober, and I was like, dealing with that whole thing, and everything that goes along with being newly sober, which is feelings.
Yeah.
So, a lot. Yeah.
Because I was basically, I drank every day. I was like suppressing all the feelings for many years. Anyway, that's a whole different story. But so I talked to the guys all individually, and we had great talks about me departing and leaving. And so, that was a really hard decision. And then Philly was my last show, and which I'll never forget.
I bet, knowing it was your last show, that had to have been crazy.
It was tough. It was really tough, man. Like, knowing that, because going out and talking to the they're called fans, but the friends of the band, that supported the band very
loyal, a lot of loyal fans.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed talking to them, and even the people at the venue. I knew all these people at the venue.
Yeah.
Everywhere we went, we had long-standing relationships, and I knew I was never going to see them again. And but yeah, the guys brought me out and played one of my favorite songs, which is "Drop." It's about doing acid, which is kind of ironic, but I don't know. I just always liked the way that song, the dynamic and the feeling of it. I thought the words don't really matter that much to me, so much as the music as a whole, and that's actually how I approach music. But anyway, so I came out and played guitar, and but what people didn't really even, I was out there strumming around, but this is an old, and I'm revealing a little bit of the magic here. The guitar wasn't even plugged in. So people were like, "Man, you nailed it. You did great." It wasn't even plugged in, man. Like, it didn't matter. Like,
that's awesome.
I was just out there having a good time. If you go back and look at video, there's nothing plugged into the guitar.
But I was going to ask, because as a drummer, how did you become were you playing guitar before you became the guitar tech?
Thank you. I was like, where's that transition?
No. And what's funny? My first show with Blue was at a little club in Abilene, Texas. We drove from San Marcos to Abilene, and I never played guitar. I never tuned a guitar. I didn't know anything about guitar. And so they set up the guitar rack and put all the guitars on there, and they taped a note on the wall that told me what strings need to be what tuning, the letters. And Matt came over and he was like, "Okay, have you ever used a tuner before?" I'm like, "No, I'm a drummer." And he's like, "So," and he just like, just quickly showed me how to tune a guitar. He's like, "Just tune it up till it hits green, and then it's good." Yeah, and that was my gig, man. Like I would switch out guitars for the guys, but it was funny. I remember going on stage and handing Justin the guitar and be like, "Check the tuning." Like I didn't have faith that and so he would talk and he would check the tuning and whatever and fix it if
Yeah.
it needs fixed. But yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, Justin's a good talker. He can stall for time while he tunes a guitar.
Yeah, those guys were super chill. It wasn't like it was, they knew I was just there to help and it was no pressure. Nowadays it's a little different. They expect a lot more from their crew, which they should, they're on a
Yeah.
different level. Back then, we were in a van and
Sure.
playing little clubs in front of not a lot of people. And we were like road dogs, like putting in the work. And
So what year was that you started with them, and how, like, I'm trying to get a perspective of how long you were.
2001.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 2001 that I did that. And I think the A Plus Machines thing happened between '03 and '04. And then Matt went and played on the Foiled album.
Yeah.
And then when the Foil tour came up is when he went back to Blue October, and then I went back as the merch guy. But
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Well, they obviously had a lot of faith in you, even though you didn't have the experience. They saw something in you that they trusted you.
Yeah, people ask me, it's like, how did you get the gig as merch guy, and tour manager? And it just came down to they trust me with the money. It's like a lot of money eventually exchanging hands there. And that's kind of what it came down to. And then as the tour manager gig came around, they just trusted me with the tour, or had faith that I would learn how to do it.
Yeah. And I'm sure throwing yourself in as a guitar tech when you don't know guitar and
proved a lot.
Yeah. I mean, did you ever have any emergencies where like a string got broken and you had to restring something really quickly? And
yeah, I didn't learn how to change a string until, a couple of tours in. There were backup guitars that I would hand them, but I got to where I could change it during a song and it'd be ready to go for the next song.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the beginning, it was like, I hope you don't break a string, because
Yeah.
I can't help you.
Well, like I was saying, I mean, if you show that kind of,
Right.
determination, I'm going to do this, even though I don't necessarily know what I'm doing. They know what they got, right? Like you're going to get it done.
Yeah, they knew what they were getting, but at the time, we were friends. We were all drinking. It was more of a party atmosphere, because when they would come to Lubbock, they would come over after the show. We'd have house parties and hang out. And,
Sure.
And that's when we really bonded and became really close. And
Yeah.
then when they found out that I was moving to San Marcos, I got the call like, "Hey, do you want to, come on the road with us? And, we'll pay you a few bucks and you can come see these towns and hang out with us in the van." I was like, "Sure, let's do it."
Hell yeah.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. I was with them for till 2017 or something like that. So
wow, it's crazy.
That must not have been as hard of a decision to give up the sunglass hut, though. I mean, that probably was one of your hardest decisions.
Oh God. Yeah. That was horrible. Yeah, I hated everything about that. But, it's funny how music inspires, like just listening to that and knowing that I was a capable drummer,
Yeah.
and being like, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. And it led me to a different path. It led me to being a tour manager of a great band.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wasn't playing as much, but I was around music. I was involved in music, and of course those guys are the best to work for. So
Sure.
yeah, I felt like there's only a few times I felt like, man, I'd really rather be playing. That those moments rarely happen, because I was so into what the guys were doing and believed in what they were doing and wanted to be a part of it and help and contribute, because I believed in them. And
yeah, you're part of the team.
There's never a feeling of regret, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and now you are playing a bunch because now you're playing an Icarus Bell, and
Yeah.
you guys are putting out a bunch of singles, and you got an album on the way.
We do. We have an album on the way. We were hoping to get it done by the end of the year. And it looks like we might get close.
Sure.
Okay.
But there's so here's the deal. Like Matt and I have no issue with creating music beds,
Yeah.
like creating songs without words and vocals and melodies.
Okay.
We can knock those out left and right all day long. The slow part comes in when trying to add vocals and lyrics and melody ideas that fit the music we created, because we're
Sure.
doing it a little bit backwards. We're creating drums and bass and then adding guitar that we feel may fit, and then we have to come back and try to make vocals work.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So that's the last part of your process is the
Yeah.
words and the vocals.
Yeah, that is the last part of the process.
Makes sense.
And that's what makes it very difficult because the musicianship that's going on, we try to lay back and not overplay, I guess, so that we can lay a good music bed for some good vocal melodies. But sometimes we just get carried away with wanting to jam with each other, and then what you hear is the result of that.
Yeah. Well, and it's what I love about it is how drum and bass heavy and rhythm section strong it is.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of bands that you hear that come from that end that's the predominant part of the songs, and it's great to hear. I love that.
Kind of flip the switch and make those the driver, the lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of fun for sure. I've already talked to you guys about the challenging part, but I'm just thinking about the live show, how it's going to be a bass and a drummer up there. I think that's we'll add an auxiliary player, a guitar player, kind of like a Ryan Delahousie, kind of does it all.
Yeah.
Kind of guy or girl. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to think that drums and bass lead
Yeah.
lead the music in the band. So
Was there any hesitation from you two with like, hey, as rhythm guys, let's start a band to drive it that way? Was there any hesitation, or you said, nah, screw it, let's go?
Yeah, no, there was no hesitation. I remember I was wanting to do something that was it was a little over the top. So what I wanted to do was an album that involved everyone that I had ever played on stage with.
Oh, okay.
Which is a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I contacted everyone was down. Everyone was but these are people from all over the country.
Yeah.
And I approached Matt about it. I was like, hey, this is my idea. And at that time, it was kind of a healing through music, because some of those relationships didn't end well.
Sure.
Like the guy that quit,
Yeah.
Sure.
when we were in Austin or whatever, right? So I wanted to do I had this whole idea, healing through music, and we get together and create and have a good time again and remember the good times and forget the bad time, this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to Matt about it, and he was like, man, that's very ambitious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's a nice way of saying that's completely unrealistic.
Yeah. Right.
And then later on he called me and was like, hey, why don't we just do this thing?
Yeah.
And we'll get a bunch of friends to play on it, but it'll be our thing, And I was like, absolutely, because Matt and I go way back. During A+ Machines, we bonded really well, became best friends, and worked well together, creating music. And and I felt like at that, during the A+ Machines time, we had a good bond as friends, but also musically. And so it was kind of a no-brainer when he brought up the idea. I was like, man, let's do it.
So you said the live show. So is there plans to tour Icarus Bell at some point?
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked recently about maybe something in the summer.
Oh, that would be awesome.
So there are some other bands that we're talking to about being support for their tours.
Sure.
And so yeah, we already have our lot. So being a two-piece, we are going to have to run tracks. That's not going to be a secret. We're not going to lie about what's going on in the background.
Why did that all of a sudden become this big thing? All of a sudden, I'm just hearing seeing article after article about backing tracks, and I'm like, I just assumed most bands used them to some
And
degree.
they do. And they do. And the thing is everything that you're hearing was recorded by us or
Right.
Brian Delahousie or Will Knack or
Yeah.
Mhm.
Paco Estrada, whoever, a bunch of talented, real musicians. This is, so it's just impossible for us. We can't play all these instruments. So.
Right.
So anyway, that being said, we have our live rig. It's called, with how we're gonna accomplish that.
Oh, cool.
So we have all our mics and like we're ready to go as far as the equipment.
Nice.
Now, as far as rehearsals, that we've done a couple of rehearsals and it's gonna work. We know that much.
Yeah.
Okay.
We started to go down that path and then we quickly did an about face. It's like, wait a minute, we have an album to finish. Let's not put the cart in front of the horse right now. Let's focus on the album and we know that this will work. We'll readdress this later. So
Sure.
yeah.
Well, it's good to know it's a comfort that it's going to work because that is different to be a two-piece band.
It's scary not having the falling back on other musicians to pick up the load and you're relying on tracks and you don't know if it's going to work or
right.
if we can pull this off. Like, is it kind of the thing is the believability? Can two guys be up there with all this instrumentation coming out of the tracks and it seemed believable that these guys are putting on a real show and it's not just a DJ push and play.
Sure. I mean, you look at a band like Black Keys and they're only two people, but it's pretty raw and pretty simplistic, pretty basic. But you guys got a lot going on with the music as a two-piece. So
yeah, there is, and we've actually talked about stripping that down in the future probably after this album cycle or after this album is done. And doing more like a Royal Blood kind of style.
Yeah.
Just stripping down a lot of the extra instrumentation.
And you guys already got about 5 or 6, maybe even more singles out there. We're doing about 6 singles out there right now.
At least 6.
I think we have 6, and then we have the Tori Amos cover, and then we have the one that we released to the patrons that's out, or 2 that we released to the patrons that aren't out as singles you can listen to. So unless
you're a member, unless you're a supporter on Patreon, which we are, we are
because I looked up the email address you guys sent me for this, and I saw.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are patrons. This is great.
We want. Well, when we talked to Matt, we're like, we want that executive producer. We want that, man. We want to be part of this thing. We love this music. So
that's an idea that we had. That at the time, this was during COVID, and we couldn't generate money, so the patrons.
Right.
Like we say this in every video. We thank you guys and the patrons because we literally cannot do this without the patron support.
Yeah.
Because that pays for engineers, that pays for like the cool artwork that you see when we release a single.
And that's a question I have too is go ahead, but I got to know who does that artwork.
Yeah, we'll get to that guy. He's amazing. But that pays for all that stuff. And it's like, we couldn't do it without that financial contribution.
Yeah.
So we figured a way to pay back a little bit is to give people that timeless title. We will have hard copies of the album, probably in the form of vinyl.
Sweet.
And your name will be on there, forever.
And it's a cool thing.
It's going to be a limited run, and it's it seems like it's not that big of a deal, but to us it is. To us, it's like without these people, this album would not be possible. So
and it's hard now. I mean, you want bands that you love to be making music, and the music industry isn't what it used to be. Everybody just is making these things and putting them on YouTube. So go ahead and support the bands that you want to see put out some music. It's
so they keep going.
Yeah, and it's funny because some people just like they come into the studio. Matt's told me stories before about people coming into Orb, and it's like they're just recording 15 to 30-second snippets of music just for TikTok.
Yeah.
That is, and Matt and I are recording these 6.5-minute epic. Like, we don't care,
right?
Like we are old, we know it, and we want to make we feel like that song requires 6.5 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And even just the
Bones
thought,
is an example. Yeah.
Right.
right?
So the
So-
artwork is done by Brad Bond. He's obviously very incredible, and
Yeah.
we give him zero direction. We
Wow.
send him the lyrics, and that's it. And
Oh,
maybe the
okay.
song, maybe the song when it's done, so he can listen to it. But I think he just works off the lyrics, and he comes up with what you see, and it's amazing.
So you plan to do that for every song from the album? Because it's so far you
Every-
have, and that's amazing.
Every song from the album will have a piece of artwork that's
Ah.
done by Brad. Yeah, and then the album itself will be done by Brad. Yeah,
Nice.
Sure.
Okay.
and then for the next, so the plan is just because of how our schedules are, and it's not obviously y'all people have been waiting forever for this album. Um, once we feel like once we have the cornerstone of the album, that from then on we can just release singles.
Yeah.
And then we may do a compilation of make an album later out of those things and stuff that's unreleased. But we wanted to get a cornerstone and get like a 10 to 12 song album out, and then from there we can just start releasing singles.
Yeah. So are the singles that are out now, are those part of the album?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. And then the stuff that's been unreleased that patrons have heard, that will be part of the album. And then there will be some other stuff that the patrons haven't heard that will be on the album as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Sure, at the end. So out of all the music you create and you decided I'm going to do a cover, what was your drive to pick Cornflake Girl?
That was Matt's idea.
Okay.
In fact, because I came from a band that played covers, I was totally against doing a cover.
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, dude, there's no way. I do not want to do a cover. He talked me into it, and I'm glad he did because I thought it turned out great.
It did.
You know, the instrumentation was beautifully done on it. We had a lot of fun making it, and yeah, I thought it turned out great. So.
Absolutely.
It did. I mean, it's one of those things like the original's awesome, and then you did it justice, by the way you guys did it.
Thank you for saying that's really what all we want to hear is that like we didn't mess it up.
Right. I feel it's like you're not trying to improve on it because it's a great song on its own. You want to serve it justice. It's a tribute to that song.
Homage. Yeah. I called Matt the next day. I was like, hey man, has Tori called you yet? He's like, no, she hasn't called yet.
Okay.
Wait, has she called yet?
No.
No, she still hasn't called.
Still uncalled. Okay.
And I've seen her. Yeah, she's amazing. I've seen her live a couple times. She's phenomenal.
I wish I had, but yeah.
So going back to the artwork, who did the artwork for the Bones video? Is it the same person, or is that a?
No, so that's actually my buddy from Falling Jupiter.
Okay.
He lives in Lubbock, and that's what he does now is the digital animation stuff.
Yeah, because that's a really cool video. Anybody who, I would
Yeah.
go out and watch it, even if you're not necessarily interested in the music, the video is really well done. It's a cool video.
Yeah, he did he did that with another guy. Forgive me, I don't remember the other team's name or branding, but Jared is my longtime friend and former bandmate, and he actually reached out to me about doing something like that, and he did the Vultures lyric video.
Okay.
Like, let me do this for you for free, right?
Yeah.
And then here's some ideas I have for the Bones video.
Mm.
And we thought since Bumblefoot played on it, it was 6 minutes. We were like, this could be really cool. Like, like we have a really good, solid animated video for Bones. Yeah, let's go for it. And then he sent us some little snippets of what he had been working on. And we were like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And Matt
Yeah, it's
wrote the
beautiful.
treatment. Yeah. And, the concept and everything of what was happening was Matt's idea. And I thought it turned out really great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, beyond
1000%. Yeah.
It's fun to watch. I mean, it's like a mini movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's got a great look to it. We talked about like keeping that character to do other stuff. Kind of never got around to that, but there may be stuff in the future. Who knows?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, you can always bring him back. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. You never know when he's gonna pop up. There you go.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure.
Part of the tour.
Well, yeah. Well, I would imagine your tour is gonna be pretty spectacular. I mean, 2 people, but just the way you have your artwork and the video, the way your minds work, I'm excited to see the tour.
Yeah, I mean, me too. you know, when Matt and I play on stage together, it's just so much fun, and I miss it, and I'm ready to get to it. But I think we can pull it off.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are you gonna, like most drummers are in the back? Are you gonna be up front because it's just you
I
two?
think the look is going to be a little not what you would expect. I'll just say that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, when it's the drummer, I mean, as big a part of it as you are,
Lead.
yeah, obviously it's gotta be a little closer to front and center than most drum sets.
I will accept my place on stage where I'll just be happy to play, but I think we're just looking to mix it up just
Yeah.
because of, you know, it is our band and it's a two-piece, and you
Yeah,
know,
for
we
sure.
will have an auxiliary player, but I think we're going to try to figure out how to make that look cool. And yeah.
Well, we will.
Well, the tradition is rhythm. You know, you're just in the back, rhythm holding the band. But you guys
Yeah,
are
sure,
lead.
yeah,
You're,
yeah.
you know, you're that's exciting.
Yeah, and you
'Cause
know,
I
it's
love it.
funny because like Matt and I have conversations in the creative process about I tend to want to cut some of the instrumental things
Hmm.
for sake of consolidating the best parts of a song and
Sure.
making more, I guess not radio friendly, but just more like consolidated, right? And Matt's like, you know, he made a good point. He's like, that's a lot of time for me on the microphone and not away from that and us jamming. I'm like, you know what? You're right.
Yeah.
Forget all that. Let's
Right.
just jam. He's totally right. And so that's kind of what we're sticking to. So
Do you feel like the 6-minute song that you have in the recording, when you do it live, will be 10 minutes? I mean, will you expand on these songs? Like,
there are some
not a
that
jam band, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
there are some that we're going to extend for sure.
Nice. Okay.
Like I think Bones will stay structurally the same. Bottle Rocket has the end of Bottle Rocket. You can kind of catch a glimpse of us just jamming a little bit. That
Yeah.
was a lot longer in the writing process. That was consolidated.
Okay.
But I think probably in the live show that's going to be extended, so that he and I can have some fun together and not worry about vocals and everything else going on. We can just sit up there and
Play. Yeah.
not too long. you know.
Sure. No,
But-
no 20-minute fish thing, but
Yeah, no fish thing. I know you guys are big Dave Matthews fans, but those guys are the best at doing that. You know, we're not trying to, but we do love just jamming out. So
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, we actually just saw Dave Matthews last night in Minneapolis. So we're
Oh, you did?
yeah, fresh off. Yeah. So it was a great night.
Oh man, I haven't seen him since, man, it's back in the day. I saw him in Dallas
Okay.
a couple times at the whatever the amphitheater's out, you know, called now.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
the Starplex, and it was
Yeah, they changed names so much. Yeah.
yeah, but man, it was such a great show. So good.
Yeah.
We're still into it. Yeah, we still go. But we just live music.
Yeah, and what a great live band.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
They
those
yeah.
guys are-
Well, and when we're up there in Minneapolis, we were at a friend of mine's house, and we were just talking about Blue October is coming to Minneapolis at the Fillmore.
The Fillmore, yeah.
So we're making plans to go back just to see them in at the Fillmore. So
Yeah.
Oh,
sure.
nice. Yeah, I was thinking about making a trip to see those guys, one of those shows, but because I went recently and saw them in Houston, and I hadn't seen them in forever,
Oh,
Sure.
wow. Okay.
and it was the greatest night ever. Been so long, but it's like nothing, no time had passed.
Yeah.
You know, so-
and no pressure of like, you know, getting everything, make sure everything runs right. You don't have no pressure
You
of the
know,
tour.
You know what's funny is having spent so much time like in the business, I've seen behind the curtain. It's hard for me to go to a show and not sit there and notice like, oh, they messed up, or oh, you know, this is happening, and you know,
That's what I was wondering. If you went, did you like almost find yourself trying to step in and be like, oh,
I wanted to so many times. Yeah.
Move over. I got this.
right.
Yeah. Well, not for lack of the wonderful crew they have
Right.
now, but it was just habitually like,
Yeah.
you
Of course.
know, mic stand fell and I wanted to run out there and like fix it. I was like, I can't do that.
You ever think about getting back into maybe not Blue October, but managing another band besides
No,
yourself?
No, I don't. while I had a great time and I would never trade any of those years for anything. I'm pretty good where I'm at. Like I'm glad to be home, and like my sister's got kids, my sister-in-law's got kids, and I want to watch them grow up. I don't want to
Yeah.
miss their birthdays, and
Okay.
you miss a lot.
Yeah,
You
I
miss
can only imagine.
births and weddings and deaths, and you miss all the family stuff, and I'm glad to be home.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
When you're not running around in your Forerunner camping.
yeah. Well, that is the vagabond in me. Like that will never
Yeah.
change. I still like to travel. I love to travel. It was funny because we'd be in the bus and I would look out the window as we're driving down the highway and I'm like, oh, that road looks cool. Go down that. Oh, that road looks awesome. And that's what I'm getting to do now. I'm getting to go down those roads and
Yeah,
check
right.
stuff out. Yeah. And
So that's always been in your blood, the
that's always
backwoods and stuff. Okay.
been in my blood. Yeah. Always try. And I grew up camping. So, in the, in the mountains and then moving to Lubbock, which is just flat brown fields of dust and just it's horrible. So yeah, I always try to get away to the mountains once a year to smell pine trees and this cool mountain air.
And you got that Forerunner decked out and ready for, I mean, you got the sleeping thing.
Oh, dude, like
Wow.
I thought at one point I was done. You're never done.
Yeah.
You're never done. It's always going to be something, But yeah, I was able to do all the trails that I wanted to do in Colorado this last fall or the last what was it, September, October.
Wow.
And
So not that long ago, just recently.
yeah, it feels like a year ago, but it was actually October 5th, I think, is when I left.
Okay.
But it was so much fun. Like Ryan Delahousie went and
Oh, nice.
yeah, just some good friends and I
That's
love it.
cool.
I think next time I'm just going to invite everybody.
There you go.
We'll make an announcement on the show.
All right. We're in. Yeah, we're in. I can camp if somebody helps.
Man, it's easy. All you got to do is if you can get over sleeping in a tent.
Yeah.
The rest is we all do community meals and cook and
Nice.
it's all good, yummy food and
Yeah.
great scenery and yeah.
It
Oh,
is.
so you go with a group. It's not like you're just, do you ever go just off by yourself?
I do both. I've done by
Okay.
myself a lot, which I really enjoy because I'm on my own schedule and I do my own thing and I take my
Right.
time or don't.
Right. Right.
But with a group, there's definitely a different vibe or a different pace or different everything that you
Yeah.
have to, get used to or whatever. But I like both. I definitely love some of those harder trails. I like having people with me, in case something happens.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I've done a lot of solo camping and I love it. I love it too. So
With the group, do you bring instruments and jam out, or
we
you leave that home?
we tried that one year and it just all got in the way, like when you're pack and for not using it a whole lot, it wasn't really worth now we just tell war stories of,
Yeah.
Sure.
Get away from that supper.
Sounds better than it really is when you're, like, we'll jam every night. And you're like, yeah, okay, 10 minutes, we're done.
No, yeah. So yeah, we sit around the campfire and just talk about old times and
Yeah.
hang out. So.
That would be fantastic to be a fly on the wall around some of them campfires. I can imagine some of the stories you guys have to tell.
It's kind of like, can I tell this story or not? I'm going to change the names to protect the totally guilty.
Right. I can only imagine some of the shit you've seen out there.
I've seen it all. I have. I feel like I've seen it all. I've forgotten a lot, which is probably good.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot I don't remember, which is probably a good thing.
Do you
True.
pull something behind the Forerunner, or are you strictly in the Forerunners? I know I saw a picture of a pull behind, but
I did, I had that I bought a teardrop trailer and I was before I got the job that I'm in now, I was pushing to be an influencer for a specific trailer brand.
oh, okay.
And it looked like the deal was going to go through. I did this whole presentation of, I was going to take the trailer all over the country and I told them the national park tour and all the different settings. And I would, do all this amazing things for the trailer. And it looked like the deal was going to go through, then COVID hit.
Oh shit.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's like, when that happened, they dropped the deal because they didn't know what was going to happen.
Sure.
Things was going to go. And then their industry and that company specifically took off. Like they didn't need an influencer like taking pictures of whatever, because they were selling so many that other people were doing it, and they were getting their photos off of Instagram and whatever and using those photos, and they didn't need me anymore. But
Sure.
Gotcha.
so I bought that trailer, and then I realized that I wasn't really going to have that much time to use it as much as I thought, and I was like, man, it's kind of a lot of money just sitting there.
Yeah.
So I sold it and bought some farming equipment.
Okay.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Because you're a ranch hand. I
Yeah.
read, what does that
I'm a
entail?
steward for my family's property. Like,
okay.
I manage the property. I take care of it.
And what do they do on the property?
Well, it's okay. So it's all solar powered and completely off the grid. Like it's got a well, and so those batteries need maintaining, and the system needs to be looked after every once in a while. And the grass needs to be cut, and the fire lanes along the fence lines need to be cut.
Mhm.
And so I manage all of that. I keep the underbrush down. But recently, my neighbor asked if he could put his cattle on my property, and I said yes. And so now there's cattle, and then they were running out of food, so we decided to plant some wheatgrass. So we planted a 12-acre pasture on my property with wheatgrass, and now it's like I'm farming and ranching. It's crazy to think like I went from going 1,000 miles an hour around the world to like almost a full stop on a tractor.
Went from a rock star tour bus to a tractor.
Yeah, and I would never have thought that was going to be the case, but I love it. It's so peaceful and like therapeutic to just plow. You wouldn't think so, but it's crazy. Yeah.
No. Well, just like your path to the guitar tech, it's just never expected, but
I guess I just go where the wind takes me. I don't.
yeah,
right. That's
cool places.
And obviously, so this job of maintaining the land, like if you go to tour, you're good to go with that. Like you can be gone for a while, and
yeah, I can. Yeah, my neighbor pretty much does a lot of stuff for me out there. Like,
sure.
For example, it's going to freeze out there, and it's an hour and 45 minutes from here.
Okay.
And he called me and said, "Hey, do you want me to go turn the water off because it's going to?" So it's like,
yeah,
yes.
Okay.
And he takes care. It's his cattle, so he takes care of them. And
sure.
I just provide the land and help with the seed and getting the prep done. And
sure.
And it's really more of a learning process so that in the future I can do it, myself, should I ever want to.
Sure.
Well, just like tour man, learn on the job. Just learn as you go, man.
I guess that's my thing.
That is your thing. And it seems like you freaking excel at it. So
right?
That's awesome.
That's how some people learn, right? By doing. So
I'm more of a hands-on, for sure.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I was never really good at school because I couldn't, the conceptual things or visualize whatever. If I can do it, then I'll be great at it. If I can't, I'm not gonna be able to get it. But
yeah.
Well, and I think that's a problem with school is there's so many kids that just need to do it.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
Different story, but
back then,
yeah,
it was just one set curriculum for everybody. Nobody is the same.
Right.
It worked for 70% of the school, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe, but didn't work for me.
So speaking of doing, you also built or modified a tiny home. Is that do you live in the tiny home?
When I'm out, it's out at the property.
Okay, that's
in Austin, but the house out there, I spend about half my time out there. It's a tiny house. Yeah.
Okay. And did you build the thing from ground up?
So I was the builder. I subcontracted everything out.
Okay.
But we did a lot of the work. We put the floors in, the tile, I did all the trim, but they built the shell basically.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then I hired contractors to come in and do the plumbing and the electrical, and then pretty much the interior was done by us. So
very cool.
Yeah, it looks cute. Those tiny houses intrigue me.
Yeah, it's man, I could get really used to that. Like that's really all the space I need.
What
It's
is the
got
square
bunk
footage
beds.
on it?
It's 14 by 24. So
Okay.
like
All right.
644, whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
But
But
yeah,
there's areas that, I mean, you look at it and I mean, yeah, you gave it some flair, I guess. I mean, it's just not like a wood house or anything, I mean, you did a nice
yeah.
job with the sink, or
Well,
I mean, the tile, or not tile, but the granite and things like that were really nice.
yeah, when you don't need a lot of the material, you can get away with getting more expensive material.
That's true.
Yeah, that's a good
That's
point. Yeah.
right.
And so when I was building that place, or when I was staying out there, and my uncle and I were building the infrastructure, trying to make it livable, because when we got it, it was just a well.
Mm.
There's
Yeah.
nothing else out there. I was staying in a tent or a shipping container or a shed, whatever, and I was eating standing up, and I was showering in a tent and using the bathroom in a bucket. I was like, so I came up with like the main things you need. You need a place to sleep, a place to sit and eat, a place to cook, a place to shower, and a place just to sit.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Those were the five things. So that's really all I need. I've realized, that's all you need. And
So
that's what I
so where do you go?
built.
Tinyhomes.com, or how do you get started in something like that?
So I found a place outside of San Antonio that built cedar cabins. I scoured the internet like until I
Yeah.
found something semi-local that could build it on site.
Okay.
And, and that's what they did. The price was right. I realized later that I paid too much for just the shell because I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they came out and it was a father and son team. They built that shell with the walls and the windows and the roof and the door, everything in like 2 days.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Wow.
They knocked it out. It was amazing. And then and then from there I just would hire out people or I do the work. Um,
Sure.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's
So
awesome.
yeah, really, you know, I can't say enough nice things about it. It's quiet.
Yeah.
There's no light pollution at night. You can see the stars.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, lots of wildlife. There's a game trail that runs through the property, so you see deer and all kinds of stuff. Bobcats like walking by and whatever.
Yeah.
It sure seems like life's going well for you right now. And
I
that,
didn't think I'd ever get here, but I think I did it.
yeah, it's
awesome.
exciting. It's nice. It's a great story to hear. It's great to hear.
Yeah, it's been a long road, but yeah, I think and not to be on a high horse about sobriety or whatever, but yeah, I think for me, it was important that I do go down that path, and it
Yeah.
helped me out a lot. So
Yeah. And we don't have to talk much about it, but I just how hard was it to get sober when you're on the road with a band? Like, it just feels like you're in the biggest party environment you could be in, and you're trying to get
yeah.
sober. Like, how difficult was that?
Well, I'll tell you, like that was part of the problem was the environment for me. And this, again, this isn't for everybody. I drank too much,
Sure.
plain and simple. Like I just enjoyed having a good time, and I thought a good time meant like getting as drunk as you possibly could. And yeah, don't get me wrong, I was having a good time, but it was not
Yeah.
healthy. And
Sure.
so to answer your question, it would have been hard had I not had Justin, who was
Yeah.
already sober.
Mm.
And you know, I had a rough night in New York, and the next day was Boston, and the guys pulled me aside. They're like, "Enough. That's enough.
Okay.
You got to chill. That's it. Done." And I was like, "Fair enough. No
Yeah.
problem." And so I guess the guys thought maybe that I would take that as just no more drinking on the road or around them or whatever. And I was. But I remember being in my office and I maybe was on the phone or something, and I was like, "Yeah, so I've gone full sober. Like I'm gonna go full sober." And Justin was like in the dressing room, like down the hall, and he heard it from down there.
Yeah.
He like zip line like all the way to my office and was like the look on his face. He was so excited.
Oh.
Like he's like, "Wait, you're going full sober?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." So he gave me a big hug, and then he was my sponsor, I guess. I didn't really go do the steps per se.
Sure.
Like I didn't go to meetings and all of that, but I kind of worked the steps with him.
Okay.
And he was a huge support, and without his, you know, support and the support of the band, but I definitely wouldn't have made it. But
Yeah.
in that environment, to your point, yeah, it would have been incredibly difficult,
Yeah, right.
But luckily, when Justin got sober, some changes were made in the environment and
Yeah.
us. Hard liquor was cut out. Other things were not allowed anymore.
Right.
And it was beer only, which was a huge, huge help. And it also helped with some of the debauchery that, because we were going through quite a bit of alcohol.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Night. It was a lot.
That all got cut out, and all of a sudden the profits started going up.
That too.
Yeah, well, and productivity, yeah, everything. But yeah, the environment got better. It wasn't the environment that I was in before. It had changed. It had already changed, and I had still continued on. I'd go out to the bar to get my hard liquor.
Sure.
And come back, and they're having to carry me on the bus, or I'm sitting there at the table just like putting pizza in my mouth and don't even know what's going on. But, yeah, so without that environmental change and without Justin's support, of course the band was fully supportive.
Yeah.
But having those talks with Justin specifically about sobriety and the feelings and everything was incredibly helpful.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Yeah, being able to go through it with somebody who was in it as rough as he was for a while, I can only imagine how much that must help.
So from the day you said I'm going total sober, how much longer did you managing Blue October?
So
before you quit? Yeah,
it was months. I think. So I got my first day of sobriety was October 15th, and then I think I was gone in April.
Okay.
17th, I think was my last show, or sometime in late April.
And you just celebrated, was it 6 years sobriety?
Yeah. 6 years.
So congratulations.
Congratulations.
That's fantastic. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, that's worth, and it's worth celebrating every time every year.
Yeah. I don't really count like the days so much anymore.
Sure.
Or, I didn't really go through the program because it's not for everybody. It's not to say there's anything wrong with it. I just didn't. I felt like I knew where I wanted to be.
Yeah.
I didn't need, luckily I didn't have Justin as a sounding board and as a supportive mentor type. But so yeah, I didn't really go through the program, but I inadvertently went through the steps.
Sure.
Because you can't help but go through those phases when you're sober. And one of the biggest things was like I was starting to feel again.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't. I was so numb for so long. And I was like emotional, and I was like, so basically what it came down to, I was like, look, guys, I love you, but I can't take care of you right now.
Yeah, you got to take care of yourself.
Take care of myself.
Right.
I am having a hard time like managing my emotions right now, which sounds crazy. But when you get clean, it's like you start to feel again, and you feel all those things, and it's not just a little bit at once. It all came at once.
Yeah, right.
And I told Justin, he's like, that's how it goes. And he goes, when did you start drinking? I was like, when I was 15. He goes, well, you have the emotional standing of a 15-year-old.
Yep, it's true.
You numbed it so you're not grown, you're not capable right now. And so that was part of the conversation that I had with all of them individually, and they totally understood. And, I told them, I was like, look, I hope my path leads me back to you, but right now I need to do this, and much love.
So, absolutely. Yeah. Are you still doing like Kung Fu and Tai Chi and stuff? And does that kind of stuff help with, just keep your mind clear? And
yeah, man. Yeah, I'm still doing Kung Fu. I just got first brown. I'm about to test for second brown.
Oh, nice.
Oh, great.
Oh, no, wait. It goes backwards. Sorry. Third brown, and then second brown, first brown, and then I'll be black belt.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm going to test for second brown in February.
And
then, anyway, so I'll be black belt fairly soon. And I'm really
awesome
excited about that. But it's been a huge life-changing thing and therapeutic thing. And
did that come in sobriety, or were you already doing Kung Fu prior to?
No, that came later. It came during COVID. I needed to get out of the house. I was getting cabin fever, and I was like, man, I need to do something. And my uncle was a big time into karate.
Okay.
And I asked him, I was like, hey, do you think, at my age, karate would be, he was, well, I think Kung Fu would be better. It's a little softer on the joints and it's, this and that. And I was like, okay.
Oh yeah.
So I found a Kung Fu school and I've been going ever since, over 2 years now.
Wow.
And it's been like one of the best things ever.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
For sure. I would imagine. I mean, I know all of those martial art kind of things really preach discipline. So I can only imagine that it's got to help with all aspects of life.
So many things. Yeah.
Oh, it's so many things. There's such a mental strength that comes from it, but also a physical strength thing. You're physically stronger, you're mentally stronger, and you're capable, you're confident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because some of the exercises we do, you're kind of squatting and you're holding that squat, and it's very painful. And our master, our leader, is like, don't think about the pain, think about how strong you are.
Mhm.
And it's just the flipping it like that,
Sure.
and it's like, that's true, and you don't
Right.
think about the pain, you think about how strong you are and how long you can hold that form, and
Yeah.
just everything that develops from that is huge. So yeah,
Awesome.
I encourage anyone to go learn Kung Fu or any martial art. It's amazing. I like Kung Fu because to me it's the best.
Sure.
Absolutely.
It's
Yeah. we got my daughters into it for balance. They were she would
Yeah.
fall down walking down the hallway. She'd fall and she just had no balance, but we got her into that when she at a young age, and she could walk down the hall now.
Man, it's crazy to see what the kids can do because there's a kids class.
Sure.
And then their extension is so high. Their
Right.
kicks are high. I mean, it's beautiful to look at. They're so flexible and can jump high and kick.
Right.
Yeah, it's like I'm so old. I'm just. Yeah.
When you're doing the you're
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different.
It's more of a
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Well, it definitely seems like you got your life fulfilled, so that's awesome.
I think I finally got it figured out. It took me like 45 years, but I think
Well, that's not bad. I'm 49.
That's
I'm 49 and still working on it. So
I'm still working.
Yeah, I'm 49. I'll be 50 in May. So
oh gee, I'll be 50 in August. So
okay.
right. Yeah. Nice.
Well, man, you guys should come down to Austin and hang. Come to the studio.
I really want to. I mean, we love Blue October, obviously, and I feel like the mecca to see Blue October is down there in Texas somewhere. So we definitely, it's a bucket list item to come down there and see him down there somewhere and hang out down there and
take a little tour around.
I would love to. I would love to see the studio. It'd be cool.
Yeah, as you know, I've seen a lot of Blue October shows, but none are as special as the ones in Texas.
Right. When you're playing in front of, when you're at home, it's just a different animal. So
it is a different animal. It's a different show. It's good stuff.
For sure.
And we're going to be watching for you guys to go on tour whenever that may be.
We're hoping summer.
Yeah.
We're talking about summer. I've already talked to my boss. He hasn't really said anything back yet. But, so yeah, we'll see. But the people I work for are super cool, man. They understand. So
sure.
And you guys, Icarus Bell just put a single out about a month and a half ago. Porcelain came out towards the end of September. So you can go check that one out. That's kind of the latest one.
Porcelain is the latest one. Yeah, man, that was a lot of fun to make. Matt and I went back and forth as we do on some stuff, and we ended up with that, and we both love it.
So I got to know in the song making process, how close to fisticuffs do you ever come? Is there ever a time when you're there's actual true, because we get a little upset with each other over this thing, like how we're gonna do this thing. So
we're brothers. We've had some elevated conversations.
Right.
But we're also old, so we know each other well enough to when to back off or when to.
And he knows you're a brown belt in Kung Fu. He better
right.
Better watch himself.
But I will say this about Matt. He is one of the strongest creative people I know. Like, he
Yeah.
doesn't stop. Like it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Like it just keeps coming, and I try to keep up. I try to, we try to stay on the straight and narrow or whatever, but a lot of times we break off but those tangents turn into beautiful things.
Right.
Ah,
So
capture
basically,
that.
our process is we'll get together and jam. 9 times out of 10, Matt's got a cool riff that we just build off of, and then the floodgates open, and Matt just like goes to town on what he's hearing and how things should be, and 9 times out of 10, I'm right there with him in
Yeah.
agreement.
Mhm.
But I usually can tell when he's in that zone and don't interject anything,
Sure.
at that time. I've learned him pretty well, and I'll usually let him finish his thought, and then I'll say, "Hey, what about this?" Or "I'm not digging this. Can we change?" And he's like, "Sure, man, let's do this." So that's when we start playing around with it, and then when it comes to mixing, again, I just let him do his thing because I trust the end result. But before anything's finalized, he'll send it to me, and I listen, and I'm like, "Yeah, I hear this and this and this. Can we change it?" And he's like, "Yep." And then that's it. So he
Yeah.
does the bulk of it. There's a lot of trust obviously involved, but
Sure.
like I said, Matt's amazing and incredibly talented. And
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well-
And a great guy. I mean, he,
Yeah.
we just we've heard so many good things about him, just from having him on and other guests that were at the studio. So
Yeah.
Matt is one of the funniest, aside from all of the great, like how incredibly talented he is.
yeah.
What a great friend, but he is one of the funniest people I've ever met. And so a lot of these laughing lines I have are from him, like over the years of how he's just, he's awesome to hang around. So
Well, yeah, I got to say he's definitely one of the kindest. We're still in awe that he was willing to come on, and now you joining, and being willing to come on.
Can't appreciate it enough.
Yeah, we're so thrilled that you guys give this
Oh,
our
man.
little podcast the chance to talk with you guys, because we love
I
the
don't
music.
think
And
it's so little anymore, guys.
well, we both had tarot readings recently from one of our guests, and she told us 2023 was our year. So we're
Okay.
Watch out.
we're fired up.
Okay, well, hopefully I can come back in 2023.
Oh, heck yeah.
You can come back whenever you want. 100%. We would love it.
Well, you guys are doing it's really cool. I like what you guys are doing, man.
Thank you.
I think it's
Thank you.
awesome.
We appreciate
you guys
it.
Have, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't cool.
That's all we need to hear, man. That's all. Seriously. That's it.
You heard
I'm
it,
happy.
right? I'm gonna clip that part.
Yeah.
That we're just using that for.
Hell yeah.
Well, go ahead.
True, though. It's true.
I appreciate it.
Well, go ahead and promote everything. Where can we find you guys and
Yeah, for
all
sure,
that good
man.
stuff?
So everything is Icarus Bell official. So either .com or on Instagram. Those are our two main platforms that we do everything at. Our website, IcarusBellOfficial.com, has a link to the merch store. It has,
You bet. Right here.
Right here,
that's
maybe.
a beautiful shirt. So yeah, we've got t-shirts, bandanas, stickers, hoodies, and all kinds of stuff. And we'll get some more stuff later for the summer. But and then Instagram, Icarus Bell Official, is where we'll update people, with what's going on with everything. And then also the website has the page to link to the Patreon. If you're interested in supporting, we have 3 different tiers. You can do $3, which is just whatever, and you'll still get some cool content. You can do, I think it's $10, and you get a little bit more content. Or you can do, is it 20? Yeah, $20.
Yep.
And you will be listed as an executive producer. You get all the content. You get, like, we're probably gonna have a listening party at the studio for the executive producers to come in.
Nice.
And listen to the album before it's released in the studio with me and Matt.
Worth it.
And that's just a way. And that, like I said before, that money goes to, we don't party with that money. That doesn't go to me buying 4Runner parts or whatever. all that money goes to the making of the album or to equipment to do what we want to do for this band. It all goes towards the music,
Yeah.
100% of it.
Yeah.
And again, it's we, you know, it's so helpful to have, and we've lived off of our patrons' dedication and support.
Yeah.
Since the beginning. So we're always eternally grateful for you guys and the other patrons that have participated in that. And
well, and we can both say we're patrons. We've been on there. It's worth the price. I've patrons of, we're patrons of other people, and you guys give as much or more content as anybody else out there on Patreon. So it's worth the cash.
It's worth the $20.
Go out and help them out. Yeah.
Yeah. We've been a little quiet lately, but that's about to pick back up. Let me ask you this. Would you guys be interested in any farming videos on Patreon?
Hell yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
You just
Here is my
on a tractor.
No, we'll have some cool content coming up for you guys. And
come on, that would be funny if you just would put one out. You just
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey guys, check it out.
It's been a little quiet lately. Here's what I'm doing.
Well, and that's what it's going to come down to until, as you know, Matt's out with the Great Blue October. So when he gets home, we'll get back to work.
Sure.
We have some dates booked for the studio and set aside and in writing, and for us to get in there and to do more vocals, and because we have like 4 or 5 music beds that need lyrics and music. So we have some to choose from. I think we're going to pick 2 more. Nice. And we'll be done. So
awesome.
Yeah. So thank you guys for having me on, and let me plug Icarus Bell.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We will
continue to support. Absolutely. And we're going to come see you for sure.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah. And if you have that, if you do have that listening party, we'll figure out how to get ourselves to Austin.
We're
for
gonna
sure.
do it. We're definitely, it's something we talked about in the very beginning that we want to do. So yeah.
That would be badass. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think that, that would be a lot of fun to meet a lot of people in person, which I've met a lot of y'all already.
You're right. Yeah.
But yeah, to get everybody in a room to hang out and visit and, reminisce and then listen to Icarus Bell, I think it sounds like a great time.
That's cool.
It does sound like a great time.
Awesome.
Looking forward to it.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes.
We really appreciate it.
It's been wonderful.
Guys. I really appreciate y'all having me.
All right. Have a good night, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you for listening. The tavern is closed for now, but we'd love to have you back for more fun next time. Seriously, though, get your asses out of here.